Hello, kids! Hi again. This is me, Teacher Isa, and welcome to our new lesson for Science 5. And we are now currently at quarter 1, week 2. So, a week after the opening of classes. So, how are you guys? I hope you're doing well and good. And let's have another week full of wisdom and knowledge as we learn new things from our lesson for this week. So, let's have our Science 5 for this video. So we have here our learning competency. So the learners describe the properties of solids, liquids, and gases in terms of shape and volume. So you're going to expect more of activities, perhaps some experiments, so that you can eventually describe the properties of solids, liquids, and gases. So the more you experiment, the more you work on with this kind of things, and kayo mismo yung makaka-discover na ito pala talaga ang properties ni solid, ni liquid, and ni gas. So in terms of shape and volume. So our objective for this week is to differentiate solid, liquid, and gas based on their molecular attraction, arrangement, shape, and volume. So let's have our day 1. And for day 1, of course, let's have a quick recap, and some sort of an activity that will motivate us for this week's lesson. So we have matter, states, and characteristics, so properties of matter. When conducting experiment is even with common materials, precaution and safety procedures must still be followed. So ibig sabihin, kahit na common materials lang yung ginagamit natin, hindi siya masyadong or hindi siya delikado na gawin, especially for students and learners like you, but still you need to be cautious and of course prioritize safety. So safety procedures must still be followed. So let's play. Let's have an activity. So we have here phase race: solid, liquid, or gas. So of course, for materials, you need to prepare 3 boxes or containers labeled solid, liquid, and gas, various pictures or real small objects representing each phase of matter. So for example, ice cube for solid, water for liquid, and balloon for gas. And then timer or stopwatch. So we have here the instructions that you need to follow. So even at home, you can practice or try to do this activity. So para medyo may idea ka na what you're going to do at school. And of course, hindi lahat ng activities ay magagawa inside the school. So might as well, if you have the materials at home, you can do this at home, of course, with the help of your guardian or with the help of your parents. So the first question is, what makes an object a solid? How can you tell if something is a gas? Can you give examples of each phase of matter from everyday life? So what is the purpose of our lesson? So unlocking content vocabulary. Can you guess this word? This is the amount of space occupied by an object or a substance. That is volume. For this one, it is a graphical representation of an object's form or its external boundary, outline, or external surface. It is distinct from other object properties such as color, texture, or material type. And we call this phase. For our subtopic 1, we're going to discuss first the properties of solid, liquid, and gas. But I think for the first week, somehow, we touched on these topics already. Okay, so using the TWHL chart, okay, what do you know? Okay, what do you already know? Okay, and then what you want to know, and then of course the H and L will be um, answered at the end of the lesson. So we have here three pictures. We have stones, we have a drop of water or droplet, and we have balloons. Okay, so what are shown in the pictures? You have learned last time that all matter can exist in three states, so solid, liquid, and gas. Do you know that these three states of matter have different properties? Do you want to know more about the properties of solids, liquids, and gases? Okay, but first, let's have an activity so that you can further understand the different properties of solid, liquid, and gas. Okay, so again, this is an overview of the TWLH chart. So for T, what you think you know. So what are the things that you already know? For W, what do you want to know? Okay, what you want to more about, the properties of solid, liquid, and gas. And then for L and H, or H and L, okay, so you're going to answer that a little after the end of the lesson. Okay, so for day 2, okay, let's have an activity. Okay, let's further observe things around us. Okay, so for the first activity, observing the shape of the three states of matter. So what are the materials that we need? Stone, water, and 3 balloons. So these are the pictures that was shown a while ago. Okay, so for the instructions, gather and work in a group. Okay, you can work in a group of 3 or group of 4. Together with your teammates, perform the activity. So we have here the procedure. 1. Put the stone into the balloon and tie the top of the balloon. Fill the second balloon with water and then blow up the third balloon. Tie the mouth of the balloon. So the first balloon, okay, is nandito po yung sa unang balloon, nandito yung ating bato. And for the second balloon, ang second balloon naman ay nilagyan natin ng tubig. And then yung third balloon, hinipan lang natin. Okay, so remember those 3 balloons. Press the stone, water, and air in the balloons and observe the changes in their shape. Based on your observations, answer the following questions. What happened to the shape of the stone when you press it? Okay, so when you press the stone, nagbago ba yung kanyang shape? And then, what happened to the shape of the liquid when you pressed it? So, nagbago ba ang shape? And then, what happened to the shape of the gas in the balloon when you pressed it? So, ano ba yung inyong observations based on the activity that you just worked on? So, what shape do solid, liquid, and gas have? And how similar or different is the shape of the 3 states of matter? Alright. So, kapag medyo nagugulo-guluhan pa, so don't worry. Okay, as we go on, we're going to expand our discussion further so that you can understand the meaning and the different properties of matter. Okay, so the first one is for the shape, and then for the activity 2, we're going to explore volume as property of solids, liquids, and gases. Alright, so let's have our activity 2. Okay, for this activity, these are the materials that you need. 3 clear containers, preferably of the same size and shape. So, hanggat maaari, 3 lalagyan na pare-parehas ang sukat at ang hugis. Water, and then few solid objects such as marbles, yung holland, pwedeng coins or pwedeng beads. We also need a balloon, measuring cup, and then marker or pen. So again, Gather and work in a group together with your teammates, perform the activity, and then follow the procedure. So, for the answer in the different, like kanina, may mga questions na binigay and then hindi tayo nagbigay ng answer because baka iba yung makita nyo during the experiment. Okay? So, kung ano po yung na-observe nyo sa experiment niyo, yun po ang isusulat ninyong sagot for that particular question. Alright. Okay, so for the instructions, number 1, place solid objects in the first container. Measure the volume of water using a measuring cup. Pour the water in the second container. Inflate the balloon to a moderate size. Observe and present your findings to the class. And then based on your observations, answer the following questions. Okay, describe the solid objects you observed in the container. How did the solid objects fit into the container? Were there any gaps or spaces between them? So kapag nilagay nyo ba yung mga bato, so for example, ang nadala yung bato ay mga graba, meron bang spaces doon sa pagitan ng mga graba or wala? Okay, and then did the volume of the solid objects change when they were placed in the container compared to when they were outside the container? And then based on this activity, can we conclude that solid has a definite volume? Okay, so this time, observing the volume of liquids. Describe the container filled with water. Did the water completely fill the container? How did the water take the shape of the container? Did it fill the corners and edges? How did you measure the volume of the water in the container, and what unit of measurement did you use? Did the volume of the water change when you poured it into the container compared to when it was in the measuring cup? And then based on this activity, can we conclude that liquid has a definite volume? Okay, why or why not? And so for the gases, describe the inflated balloon. How did it appear in terms of volume? Did the balloon completely fill with air? And did the volume of the balloon change when you inflated it compared to when it was deflated? And based on this activity, what can we conclude about the volume of gas? Okay, so for this activity, we are observing the volume. Okay, so the properties of solid, liquid, and gas in terms of volume. So another activity, let's have an interactive discussion. Okay, so based on the activity we have conducted on observing the shape of the 3 states of matter, what property of matter was shown in the activity? So shape is one of the properties of matter. And what happened to the shape of the stone when you pressed it? Nothing happened. It remained the same. Okay, so kapag pinrest, diba? Kapag pinindot mo yung bato, wala namang nangyari. Ganun pa rin yung kanyang hugis. Okay. So what shape do solids have? A solid has a definite shape. The shape of the solid remains the same whether it is pressed or placed into different containers. For example, a stone will keep its shape whenever we press it or put it on a desk, in a glass, or in a box. Meaning to say, this means that the shape of the solid does not change and solids have definite shapes. Ibig nating sabihin, kahit saan man natin ilagay ang solid, mananatili at mananatili ang kanyang hugis. Okay, so hindi magbabago yung kanyang hugis. Alright, now in terms of liquid, what shape does liquid have? Liquid has an indefinite shape. The liquid changes its shape when it is pressed. Liquid also changes its shape to match the shape of the containers. So for example, liquid takes the shape of the glass when it is poured into a glass. Liquid also changes its shape when it is spilled on a table. A liquid has no definite shape. Meaning to say, from the pictures that we have, okay, so kung ano po yung shape ng container o ng lagayan, ganun din ang nagiging shape ng liquid kapag iniligay mo ito. Okay? So kapag when you pour a water in a glass, so it takes the shape of the glass. When you pour the water into a cup, it takes the shape of the cup. And when you pour the water, for example, in a basin or in a jar or in a small jar, it takes the shape of its container. So, therefore, a liquid has no definite shape. What happened to the gas in the balloon when you pressed it? Okay, the shape changed. The occupied volume changed as well. So, what shape does gas have? Okay, gas, same with liquid, has indefinite shape. Gas changes its shape as it takes the shape of the container. If we fill differently shaped balloons with air, the air expands to fill the balloons and takes on the different shapes. If the balloon bursts, air will escape and spread out. So, the perfect example would be the balloons. So, for example, in a birthday party, may balloons na heart shape. There are balloons which is spiral. There are balloons na shape ng animal. There are balloons na shape ng cake. So, whatever shape the balloon is, so ganun yung i-occupy no, ng gas. Kapag pumutok yung balloon, mag-spread out yung gas. So, ganun lang po siya kasimple. So, tatakas yung gas from the container and it will definitely spread out. Okay, so for day 3 and 4, based on the activity we have conducted on exploring volume as property of solids, liquids, and gases. So for this day, okay, we're going to explain yung ating activity when we explore the volume as property of solids, liquids, and gases on yung ating, I think, second activity. Alright, so we have here observing the volume of solids. Ano ba yung ating natuklasan after we observe the volume of solids and after having the activity? Describe the solid objects you observed in the container. So the first one, the solid objects were small marbles made of glass. How did the solid objects fit into the container? Were there any gaps or spaces between them? The solid objects filled the container, but there were small gaps between some of the marbles. So, yung marbles na nilagay natin, for example, yung holen, kapag nilagay mo siya sa isang container, of course, nagfi-fit in siya, pero hindi niyan na pupuno or may mga gaps and in between the marbles, 'di ba? Hindi siya nagpo-perfect fit. Kumbaga, yung isang marble hindi naman siya nagiging flexible enough para ma-fill out, no? Mapuno talaga entirely yung container. So, meaning to say, kapag nagbuhos ka ng tubig doon sa isang container na may marbles or may holen, makikita mo yung gaps in between. Okay, so now, did the volume of the solid objects change when they were placed in the container compared to when they were outside the container? The volume of the solid objects did not change when they were placed in the container. Ganun pa din. So, based on this activity, can we conclude that the solid has definite volume? So, definitely, yes. Solid has a definite volume. Alright, describe the solid objects you observe in the container. Okay, so it's still the same. Alright, so for this one, we have observing the volume of liquid. Describe the container filled with water. Did the water completely fill the container? So check na check. The container was filled with water and the water filled the container. How did the water take the shape of the container? Did it fill all the corners and edges? The water took the shape of the container and filled all the corners and edges. So how did you measure the volume of the water in the container and what unit of measurement did you use? We measured the volume of the water using measuring cup and poured it into the container. We used millimeters or milliliters or ml as the unit of measurement. Kaya yung mga tumblers natin, di ba? May mga ml yan, may milliliters yon. So, 250 ml ba yung tumbler mo? Okay, or 160 ml or 1000 ml. Alright, so did the volume of the water change when you poured it into the container compared to when it was in the measuring cup? The volume of the water did not change when we poured it into the container. We used the same measuring cup for both measurements. Based on this activity, can we conclude that liquid has definite volume? Yes, liquids have definite volume, meaning they occupy a fixed amount of space regardless of the container's size or shape. Meaning to say, if ang nakalagay sa measuring cup mo is 150 ml ng water, when you poured it in a glass, okay, 150 ml pa rin yung laman. And if you poured it again on another cup, kahit iba ang shape, still it is 150 ml ng water. Okay? Because yung sukat niya, same lang po. Unless, pag lipat mo sa water, may natapon. Alright? Or, kapag lipat mo doon sa tubig, paglipat mo sa tubig doon sa isang lalagyan, ay meron siyang laman ng parang meron pa siyang, for example, 2 ml ng water or another liquid. So, magkakaroon ng kaibahan po doon. But, kapag clear lahat yung ating container, and then sinali natin siya ng maayos, so si 150 ml of water will still be 150 ml kahit saang container mo siya ilagay. So this time, let's observe the volume of gas. Describe the inflated balloon. How did it appear in terms of volume? The inflated balloon appeared to be full of air and was moderately sized. Did the balloon completely fill with air? Yes, the balloon was filled with air. Did the volume of the balloon change when you inflated it compared to when it was deflated? So, of course, the volume of the balloon increased when we inflated it compared to when it was deflated. So, of course, makikita naman natin magkaiba yung volume ng balloon nang hindi mo pa hinahanginan compared sa volume ng balloon na may hangin na. Based on this activity, what can we conclude about the volume of gas? Gas has no definite volume. The gas filled the balloon, causing it to expand. The volume of the gas increased to fill the available space inside the balloon, demonstrating that gases do not have a fixed or definite volume. Gases expand to fill the container they are in, and they have indefinite volume compared to solids and liquids, which have fixed volumes. Now, can you think of other examples where gases expand or compress to fill their containers in everyday life? So, the gas inside the LPG tank is compressed to fit the tank. Once you open it, the gas inside is released to light up the stove so you can use it for cooking. Okay, let's have your takeaways. So, describe the properties of solids, liquids, and gases in terms of shape and volume. So, go back to the TWLH chart and let the students reflect and check if their answers in the think column are correct. Ask them also if their answers in the one column were addressed and during the conduct of the various activities. So finally, you can now accomplish for the learn and how column. So ano ba yung inyong natutunan at paano mo pa mas mapapalalim pa ang iyong pagkakaunawa sa paksang ating tinalakay. So let's have your assessment or short quiz or a short assessment. Okay. So we have here, I'm just going to flash the questions and try to answer, and then later on let's find out if you got the correct answer for our quick formative assessment. So for the part 2, we have here situation-based questions. So don't worry, it's just, I think, 2 questions. Okay, so let's check if you got the correct answer for our assessment. All right. So with that, I would like to say thank you for being with me throughout our lesson, and I hope you learned something from what we've discussed in this video. And of course, you can always go back and you can always ask your teacher for some clarifications, or for you can ask them for more um, examples so that you can further understand, okay, the properties of matter, solid, liquid, and gas in terms of its shape and volume. So again, thank you for being with me. So don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel and to click the bell button so that you can be updated for our videos, our lesson videos for this quarter. So thank you and bye bye.